Are y'all ready for something new? Because I bought a thing. I was at Target not too long ago and I saw this Comic Sketchbook, which is basically just a giant book of page layouts for comics. And I thought it would be a really cool idea if I worked on my sequential art and did one-page comics. So the first thing I did was open the book, and on the first page we have some stuff, and I grabbed my cup of prompts, and the first thing that came out was goblins. My precious baby goblins. I love them so much. And so I started sketching out a random goblin. He didn't have a name at first, but I just kind of gave him emotions, played with his ears, gave him a club with briar thorns kind of wrapped around it, and just, playing with different face shapes and things like that, until I was kind of satisfied with drawing or sketching random goblins and started working on the actual panels. So I didn't have a storyline for this. At first, I did know that I wanted there to be kind of a silhouette, like a goblin silhouette at the beginning, the very first panel, and I think I spent the most time on that panel, just because I that was the only one that I really had a good idea of what I wanted to do with it. But as far as that went, I just went from there, started playing with ideas, and was coming up with the story panel by panel, which is not a great way to write a comic, as any comic book writer will tell you. But I honestly didn't have an idea. There was a lot of things that were in my head at the time, like, oh, maybe I can play with him going about what the day in the life of a goblin, or different little activities that he would do, mischief that he would get up to, things like that. But I wound up going with a fairly simple style, or a fairly simple story about a goblin who, is just making his way through the forest and ultimately gets himself into trouble. One thing that came about this was the hat, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Right now, you can see that I'm actually inking with a micron, which I don't really like doing. I'm not a huge fan of microns, but I have so many of them for various reasons. I'm not entirely sure where they came from. I just have them. So I decided that I would go ahead and just use it for this project. And one thing that I do want to do is I do want to work on my inking, because I'm not very good at it. And I usually wind up just doing one very thick line for my style, and I do want to work on variations. Something you will notice very shortly is that we're gonna do kind of a time jump, and you'll see that there is color. I don't know what happened. I really don't, but I somehow managed to lose 30 minutes of video. I don't know where it went. I very distinctly remember recording it, because I checked on it frequently, just to see what my time was, and the time was telling me, oh, you have 15 minutes left, you have 10 minutes left. And then suddenly, when I was editing this video, I realized that the video wasn't there. So we just got straight into the coloring. For the coloring, I used my mild liners, because I have a lot of mild liners, and they come in a variety of colors. There are a couple of colors that I kind of fudged on, which were the skin tone of the people and the goblin's loincloth. I think it was about this time that I decided that the goblin's name would be Gobby, because why not? And it was also around this time that I decided that Gobby would be on a quest to find the perfect hat. So if he shows up later on, it's going to be him looking for a new hat, or getting into trouble while acquiring hats. But I actually really did like this story that I kind of this little short story of Gobby, just kind of taking out a guy who was driving a wagon and then not realizing that there was someone in the wagon who could potentially hurt him. This was all done in about under an hour, a little under an hour, or no, an hour and a half. Yeah, it was an hour and a half. And I had a lot of fun with it, and it was just a fun little short thing that I did. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy.